In this video, we got some major news in regards to creative plans for ROH AEW. We already heard about some of the details that Tony Khan alluded to about them going developmental, but now we got to talk about Supercard of Honor. Also, in today's video, we're going to talk about Pete Dunne's change on WWE's main roster, and of course, a former WWE superstar is teasing a big match in AEW, so we got to talk about it all in today's video. As always, if you want more, go ahead and click that subscribe button, ring that bell, and this way you get notified for all new uploads. So I want to talk about Butch, aka Pete Dunne. If you guys watched Smackdown last night, WWE decided to repackage Pete Dunne, and I'm not going to sit here and defend the name. I don't think the name is the best choice that WWE could have had, but one of the things I was tweeting about, so if you guys don't follow me on Twitter, at the official Ango, I would definitely encourage it, especially there's going to be something really big coming to Twitter. So we're almost at 3,000 followers if you guys want to follow. But the reason why I bring this up is because one of the things that I'm talking about is, you know, historically with WWE call-ups from NXT to the main roster, we saw these super indie wrestlers that were really good wrestlers but didn't really have a character. There was no real vision for them. So once they made it to the main roster, they didn't really have anything going for them. So while I'm not necessarily defending the name, I do appreciate the fact that WWE does have some sort of plan here with Pete Dunne. And I do want to say talent trumps everything. And I think somebody like Pete Dunne has shown that he is not only really, really good at what he does, but I think Pete Dunne has also shown us that whatever situation WWE puts him in, he ends up knocking it out of the park. We saw a great feud between him and Tony D'Angelo on NXT, and this was really weird to see considering NXT 2.0, like it was a transitional phase. So yes, Butch isn't the greatest name. There is also some logic behind it. It's kind of like a childhood nickname. That's, I guess, what it's being referred to. But this idea of Pete Dunne being in a stable, you know, I don't know if anybody watches Peaky Blinders, but there's a lot of people on Twitter kind of comparing it to Peaky Blinders, which I find to be a very interesting comparison. But the idea of Ridge, Sheamus, and Butch being together is intriguing. And I think that is a better plan for Pete Dunne than versus Pete Dunne just coming into the main roster being a good wrestler, the bruiserweight. Now, keep in mind, you know, Butch is being treated more as a nickname, so there is always that opportunity to go back to Pete Dunne, you know, if he ever decides to turn on the group or whatnot. I do love factions. It's one of the things I like about AEW. I'm glad WWE is doing this with Pete Dunne. For those who think Pete Dunne should quit and go to AEW, keep in mind he made the decision to stay with WWE last summer, so that is just something for people to keep their mind on. Look, again, not defending the name. I think the name could have been better, but I'm not going to be one of those people. I see wrestling media. I see a whole bunch of personalities on Twitter. They're jumping on this. And I look at what they did with Walter, and Walter became Gunther. This is expected from WWE. So understand this is how WWE works. If you don't like it, you don't have to watch it, obviously. But I think to say that Pete Dunne isn't good enough to make this work, I just don't believe that. I think he's really good. I think we've seen Walter make Gunther work. We've seen a whole bunch of name changes. We all hated the name Matt Riddle. Riddle became one thing. It's not a big deal. Ultimately, they actually have a vision for him, and I think they're actually going to utilize him versus him getting lost in the main roster, which, by the way, is a big reason as to why I do enjoy NXT now, because I think we're going to see less people actually get underutilized. All right, guys, Ember Moon on Twitter teasing some major stuff with Jade Cargill and a nice little Twitter exchange with Jade Cargill. You know, it's a very, very interesting situation. Ember Moon specifically saying, give me a match so I can take your title, talk to your boy and make it happen. I'll be waiting. Now, I don't know if this is a planned exchange because AEW has plans for Ember Moon. I don't know if this is Ember Moon getting involved with Twitter the correct way, trying to set up this match. You know, right now, Jade Cargill is 29-0, 30-0 at the time of this recording. Jade Cargill has not taken a loss yet. I don't know who's going to lose, or I don't know who's going to have Jade Cargill lose. But what I will say is Ember Moon going to AEW is a big deal. Mia Yim going to AEW is a big deal. Taya Valkyrie, all three of those names going to AEW is a big deal. They need some more depth in that women's division. Ember Moon is a phenomenal wrestler. Also, we know that she has the ability to bring characteristics beyond just being a good wrestler. So I think that right there is very intriguing if they do decide to go this direction. I would say if I had to guess, if I had to predict, I would say maybe Ember Moon sets up something at Double or Nothing. Obviously, you know, they always have these wild cards and Casino Battle Royales and everything. I think the opportunity is there. It's really just up to AEW if they want to do it. Ember Moon versus Jade Cargill is also a great match for AEW to produce in the long term of stories, because Ember Moon doesn't need any development. So I think that is something like they can actually build a storyline with, not just 1 or 2 matches, but like they can actually build something. And the Twitter exchange could obviously be the start of it. I think this is a good idea. Obviously, if you're AEW, you need to start adding some more depth. You need to start adding some more stories. And I think what better way to do that than bring in somebody who's already established. You know, a lot of people always argue about AEW signing former WWE talent. At the end of the day, you know, Athena, Ember Moon, was in WWE, and she didn't even have a bad WWE run. But ultimately, the way I look at it is now that AEW has bought ROH, they are going to need talent. They are going to need to space out their roster. It makes sense, especially when you look at the division that's lacking. Now, speaking of ROH and AEW, a lot of people know that Tony Khan is taking over the booking, and a lot of people also know that Tony Khan pretty much alluded to ROH being like a developmental system for AEW, and there does look to be some sort of plans, possibly splitting up the rosters. Now, with that being said, today we have a major update. Dave Meltzer stated on the Observer Live that Khan would actually be handling the creative for ROH Supercard of Honor, and now plans have changed. So Meltzer stated that all previous plans are off, but they aren't looking at starting from scratch, and there are no plans to eliminate champions or kill off storylines. Meltzer also added the belief is that Jonathan Gresham will defend the ROH World title against Bandito in Dallas, but that's a match that Khan still needs to sign off on. Now, keep in mind, the reason why I want to talk about this is because the Briscoes were supposed to appear and defend the belt at ROH Supercard of Honor. We know that we know that AEW will not be bringing in the Briscoes to AEW because Warner Media does not like it. That's on a previous video. We know Bandito versus Gresham, champion versus champion match. That would make sense. Deonna Purrazzo as well. But nothing is confirmed. Tony Khan is starting from scratch. Keep in mind, this is the big haymaker here. ROH doesn't have any contracted talent. There's nobody that's contracted to ROH. We know that the employees that worked for ROH are expected to be laid off soon by Sinclair Broadcasting. So for those who are excited about Supercard of Honor, this could very well become an ROH AEW super indie show. I would expect ROH talent, former ROH talent. I would also expect AEW talent there as well. AEW does not do events during WrestleMania weekend. They've been very keen on saying that they don't want to, that's WWE's weekend. Now this completely changes the game because in some capacity, AEW is involved. Now, Supercard of Honor, to me, is the end of the chapter, right? Or the beginning of a new one. It's really hard to explain, but it's just how I see it. I feel like whatever happens here will pretty much end, and then now we will begin this new booking with Tony Khan running the show. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below, and I'll see you next time.